Ladies and gentlemen, do you remember the good old days of being rated 500 at the game of chess? No? Is that still in your future? Are you rated about 2, 3, 400? Well, let me tell you, 500 is right around that point where you either are brand new to the game, still learning the ropes, learning a tactic or two every single time somebody gets checkmated and one of your games concludes, or you're rated 500 because you don't really want to study the game. Let's just be honest. You've played many games. You're not too interested in actually trying to, slowly but surely work your way up. You just play because you have fun, and it's a good way to pass some time. In this game, we have a matchup between two 500 rated players who combined for 55 bad moves in a game that was 59 moves long. Okay? So, on that note, in the How to Lose at Chess playlist, we've seen a lot of Hall of Fame games. This one is definitely up there. Now, let's keep in mind it's 59 times 2, because they each get a move. So, half the game was bad. So, the first move is not bad. Obviously, our protagonists have been changed around. The names, they are honorary grandmasters. White is a golden retriever, black is a pile of pierogies, being from Poland. And we have d5. Now, the truth is, they are 500, so I have no idea if black is playing a Scandinavian defense or if black just decided that in this game they were going to take the center. White plays the move e5. So it's okay to play this against the Scandinavian instead of taking the pawn. The best move for black now is bishop to f5 as well as c5, because the structure is one where black gets an advanced Caro-Kann structure and a French structure, but has improvements on both. And what I mean by that is the Caro-Kann advanced variation, black already played c6, so by the time black plays c5, they're wasting another move on it. And in the French defense, right, it's like we have the structure, but somehow the bishop jumped over a pawn illegally. So when e5 happens, the best thing to do is to combine ideas from both of those. But okay, knight c6. This is not a great move because after you play d4, there is no c5 undermining the center, but white doesn't know that and just develops this. Now black plays a great move, accelerating the development, pinning the knight to the queen, and white here decides to push their head into the barrel of the gun of the enemy and play queen to e2. Now that is just not a good move, and already white is lost. Now, white should finish developing bishops and knights and take as much center control as possible. That might mean here or here, pinning the knight to the king, but this just isn't going to cut it because you can even take. And if queen takes, this is hanging, and if this, then your king is going to be wide open, and knight d4 can come in. And black tries to take advantage of the queen by playing knight to b4. Now, that immediately loses the game right back, because even though there is a threat, white here should look for checks first. You just always scan. Is there a check? And there is, and in this case, it's a very good move. Queen b5 is a triple fork. The best move for black is actually to go back and then proceed to lose this pawn, and maybe lose the rest of the pieces. Okay, so queen b5 check, you just have to scan if checks are possible. That is why knight b4 is a bad move, but white sees the threat and instead of that plays knight to a3 and is now worse again. Not losing, but it's a mildly unpleasant position. So let's continue. Queen to d7. Queen d7 is not a bad move. Maybe... 1 second, I'm actually messaging my thumbnail guy to make the thumbnail for this video. As we're doing this. This is a little bit kind of behind the scenes. So queen d7 is not a bad move at all. I mean, it doesn't blunder anything, so as far as I'm concerned, I don't really care. Now here, white plays a great move. I love this move. Booting the knight. And here, I just wish white finished building Connect 4, because that center wall is so powerful. Instead of that, white was like, well, I moved the pawn 1 square. I might as well demonstrate I know how to move it again, right? Because I just need to show my opponent I really know how pawns move. No, this is not how it works. You should try to, build your pawns up together to restrict enemy movement. c4 is not a bad move. However, I mean, I understand it's -2 and black is winning again. I like this move by black. Locking down the center control and not making it easy for white to move. White here doesn't really know what to do. Both bishops are blocked in. I would like to see white develop this bishop because you're not getting this one out. Instead, white attacks the bishop hangs around, and now white plays d3. Okay, fantastic. We have a totally equal position after 8 moves of play, 9 moves of play. Knight h6. Even that is a logical move by black. It's not a very good move, but it's a logical move. You know, white has a good opportunity here to take some space with the move g4. Normally, you don't really want to make side advancements like this because the bishop just moves, and then when you castle, you're just going to have a weak king. But white is now winning because white has an advantage on every side of the board. You have a center advantage, a king side advantage, and a queen side advantage. When it's really difficult for your opponent to move on all three sides of the board, there's no other sides. There's no fourth dimension, fifth or sixth dimension of chess. If you're dominated on all three sides of the board, you're going to struggle. If every pawn move on every side of the board is going to hurt, you're not going to have a good time. So what does black do? What any person with no moves would do, plays a random move, and now the advantage is blown wide open because that move does less than nothing. It does negative to your position because if anything, it helps me kickstart another whole set of attacking moves. Knight g5. All right, let's see what white does. White takes the pawn on d4 and loses the knight in one move. So white fell for it a little bit. White was like, ooh, the knight was used to guard this. So I'm just going to go ahead and grab that real quick. Thank you very much. And loses the knight for a pawn. Okay, the advantage according to Stockfish is not gone because black's position is so bad. But white insists on losing another piece with the move bishop takes b7. And now black is completely winning because the knight goes back. And for absolutely no reason, white has just gone from plus 3.5 to minus 5 in the span of 2 moves. That's why we love 500 ELO chess, because completely unprompted, left to their own volition, just like a dog and something chewy, they will destroy it and scatter it all over your living room. All right? So now white has lost. White just gave up 2 pieces for 2 pawns for absolutely no reason. How do you fight back in a situation like this? Well, one thing you want to do is you want to make sure your king is safe, and you want to continue to create threats. Moves like bishop to e3, try to advance with your pawns, try to go for an attack on those pieces. Queen f3 here would be an amazing move. If the knight were to move, you would take the rook. So I love queen f3. What do you not want to do? You don't want to trade any pieces. The worst thing to do here for white would be to trade something like the queens, because without the queens, you're never going to launch sufficient counterplay, right? That's why I said queen f3 and not queen e4. So that is how white wants to play here. White wants to not trade queens. So what does white do? Trades the queens immediately. And I turn off the air conditioner. The video did not break. I just didn't want it to make a lot of noise in the background. So queen to e4. White trades the queens right away, removing their most powerful piece. Their biggest hope of counterplay is gone. What black should do here is not even think. They should not even think they should take the queen. I mean, are you kidding me? You're left with just bishop, knight, and 2 rooks. Castle queenside. Slowly find a way to get out the rest of the pieces, trade some pawns, win the game. You have more material, right? Instead of this, black's like, no, I don't want to trade queens. Like a little toddler, and now white is much better after the move. White is... black is no longer much better after queen takes b7. So white's plan kind of worked. Queen f3, queen b7. Instead, it goes like this, and black plays a great move here. Queen takes e5 check, delaying this and seeing danger levels. I have to give black props. Very nicely found. Now, white does not move the king out of check, which is another thing that a lot of people make a mistake about. If you don't have to move your king, don't. Blocking with the bishop, and the rook moves out of danger. And now, it's almost anybody's game again, because white can actually get the knight into c7. All right, so the queen needs a little bit of help. Knight b5 is a very difficult move to play here. Most people here will play attacking moves or checks. That's why you always look at those first. So something like d4 is natural, castling is natural, taking on a7 is natural. So white plays d4. Now, d4 looks like it just loses a pawn. It just looks like rook takes d4. And actually, black must have thought, I'm a super, super genius. Look at this. Believe it or not, rook d4 loses to the move knight b5, which now creates a threat on the rook and knight c7. Again, the way to offset being down material is to hunt the enemy king, preferably with more pieces than one. If the queen is only attacking the king, right? If only the queen is doing this, it's not going to work. But in this game, that's exactly what happens. Okay, so queen takes a7. And now black should just go back with the rook to one of these squares. Does. Check here, check here, right? That's just not, you're like not going to get the job done with just the queen. It's not going to work. The queen needs some help. White here castles, okay? And we are now in a position of total pandemonium. The evaluation is black has an extra bishop. White has an extra pawn. However, black's king, very weak. White has some pawns here as well that can just go marching, like middle of the game. So weak king, white has more active pieces. And black's only advantage in this position is being up a piece, right? So what should black do? Maybe try to activate the dark squared bishop and castle. Like if you give black a couple of moves, something like this, and castling, black is going to be in good shape, and then black should activate with moves like f5. White should create counterplay on the king. What does black do? Loses the knight immediately. Just completely unprompted, just gives away the knight. And here you would think that the idea was to just open up the king. Queen h5, bishop f3, go for some sort of mate. Nope. Queen f... what? Now it's plus 10! What? You're not even up a piece anymore. You used to be up a piece. Now you have all the problems of the same position, but you don't even have the extra piece, which is why it's plus 10. White is winning here with knight b5, knight c7. All right, knight b5, knight c7, rook d1. Or, sorry, rook d1. That's it. Position's completely winning. What does white do? All right, let's go. g5. All right. all the advantage is gone because black can play queen f5 here and go for the king. So now if you play knight b5, I check you and you've left your king wide open. The only way to defend yourself here, all right, would be to bring the queen all the way back. And that loses to bishop c4. And now we have a fork. So you've weakened your king with queen f5. You've got to go for the king. Black doesn't see that. White is now completely winning once again because you're not actually threatening my king, right? So knight b5, rook d1. Beautiful, rook d1. What does black do? That is the top engine move. All right, this is the best move. Why? Because you need to get your king out of the pin, then you need to trade some pieces, and then you need to activate these two pieces because they're stuck. And white is completely winning because he can activate his pieces super quickly. Knight b5, knight c7, right? The attack is coming on the king. All right, instead of that, white just played the move rook d1 and says, haha, me can take rook, me take rook. Okay, me can take it, me take it, okay? Bishop takes d7, and now white can pick up a pawn, or take this, or give a check. What does white do? Give a check, of course, because free pawn is no good. Giving check, me see check, me give check. King f7, only move. Now, will white come back for another check, or will white activate the rook, or will white finally activate the knight? White plays rook d1, attacking the bishop, and now losing the game to the move bishop c6. That attacks the queen, and it doesn't just attack the queen. There are now also massive attacking possibilities with bishop f5, queen h3, and mate, because white pushed all the pawns in front of their king, right? Instead of playing that move, black is like, well, my bishop is hanging, so I might as well counterattack the rook because I'm super smart. That would make sense, if not for the fact that the queen can take the bishop in one move. Black thought they were clever. I'm moving my bishop out of the way of the rook, and now I'm attacking the rook, and I'm finishing a triangle. White here decides, haha, he's attacking my rook, but little did he see that I can move it all the way down the board for no reason at all. I have no threats. That's not a threat at all. It's defended by the rook. But I can do it, so I'm gonna do it. How often can you move a piece the entire length of the board? You can't. Now black is like, wait a minute, this is kind of unpleasant. Also, whoa, I lost my bishop almost, bishop c6. White is like, no, I'm not going off the back rank. I really want both of my pieces on the 8th rank, even though they're doing absolutely nothing. Now, I love the next move by black, although it loses the game. I love it because black sees this and knows what to look for. Queen h5. I love this move. It's made in 2, but I love it. All right, it's 500 level chess. Okay, if you, some of you watching this are parents, maybe you're even watching this with your kids. If your 4-year-old child brought you something that they did, which they do. I have a younger brother who's 11 years younger than me. I've seen this. He brings you something. He's like, hey, look what I made. And you're like, wow, that is, I don't know what that is. That looks like if rain landed on mud and kind of like slushed it around. And then someone dropped some rainbow Skittles on it. That's what that artwork looks like. But no, you allow them to show you their imagination. You understand what I'm saying? That's kind of like what 500 ELO chess is like. I see queen h5. I love it. I know it hangs mate. I know there's a mate. Queen f5, king g8, this. The game's over. Or this. Actually, no, this is the, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Turns out I was the 500 all along. Okay, well, here. I thought it was queen. I've looked at the game for too long. Oh my god. Bad. Very bad by me. Queen f8. Yes, I thought they were both mate. I forgot the queen can... Okay, I apologize. Point I'm trying to make is, I don't care that queen h5 hangs mate in 2, because it threatens a mate, and it's actually kind of difficult to stop. And white plays king f1, and now is completely lost. So, beautiful. Now, folks, if you thought we've seen content thus far, we have 29 more moves to go. It's gonna get so good. I hope you're ready. White runs out of the burning building, right? Black here can play g6, bishop g7. That's what the engine wants. It ain't happening. Queen h1 check, and here. And now, checking the king again does look very appetizing, but the king is gonna keep running, and if you play queen d1, it actually does more harm than good, because the king escapes. You can give me a million checks. The king escapes. You can give me another check. I cover. You can take. I take. You can check me. But by the end of these checks, you have no more pieces left, right? So king d2, and now what black has to do, black has to do this right now, because queen f5 is still a threat. Ah, this is why I thought queen e... Okay, I'm going to show you. Black goes here. When I was analyzing this game, before I made the video, there was a moment where queen e6 was mate. It was mate here. That is why... Yes. So it's mate again. f4. You have check, and this is why you always look for check. This is now mate in 3 different ways, because this can take, that can take, and queen e6. Okay, I'm not crazy, okay? I knew queen e6 was mate at some point. Whew! Okay, crisis averted. Yes, there are 3 mates in this position, but when f4 happens, here's what goes through the player's head playing white. Oh, f4. Me take pawn? Me take pawn? Me take pawn? Me take pawn? You don't think I have to look for checks first, just in case, right? So bishop takes f4. Now black is sort of out of ideas. To be honest with you, I have no clue what the point of the move f4 was. Like, I can't explain. Like, what was the point after bishop takes? Like, was there a point? Now black goes bishop e7. So black attacks the queen. The queen now has 1 legal move, like good legal move, 2 good legal moves, 3, 4, and taking this pawn, okay? Black takes the pawn. All right, now black still has not, white takes the pawn. Black still has not activated any of the pieces. There are no checks. What does black do? Oh, finally. But now it's plus 10. You see, if a couple of moves ago you had played the move g6 and activated your bishop, like right here, g6, the point is that the bishop is coming at some point to help. For example, check here and check. That is why you have to activate the dark squared bishop, okay? That doesn't happen, obviously, and now the position is completely winning again for white, who doesn't bring the knight in again. The bishop goes back to e4, knight b5, knight d6. Can we get it? No. Instead, we attack the rook in 1 move. Okay, the rook moves. Now, can we go knight b5? No, we go b4. b4, okay. Well, the advantage is gone once again, because the queen can get active and go harass the king. I love this. I love this move. Yes, queen f1 is an amazing move, because obviously black has seen that the pieces can coordinate on d3 and then potentially capture the knight. There it is, and now black uncorks the entire idea of queen f1 by playing queen to a1 and losing the game again. Oh my goodness, it turns out the threat of this was to take. It had nothing to do with that. So we go try to take another pawn. White now plays queen e5, losing the pawn on a2, and losing the knight on a3. Nope, no, not losing the knight on a3. The bishop decides to be safeguarded. By some miracle, this king can barely be attacked. So white plays rook to a8, defending the knight and losing the game again to the move queen b3 check, which is played. The king runs out to f4, and now black should finally consider activating the bishop, which also activates the rook. Check, you block, queen hangs, this hangs, and let me tell you, the king is hanging real close by a thread as well, okay? Instead of that, black plays a move that you could not pay me money to tell you what the point of is. Why are you going there? What does that even do? You brought the bishop here because it was okay, fine, you move the bishop, fine. What does white play here? b5. Losing the game again to the move bishop g7, which doesn't get played. Okay, now, white in this position has a queen, a bishop, a knight, a rook. Many pieces. 20 points of pieces. And instead of that, they move their king. Why? The king was so safe. Now the king is just a target and immediately gets checked. Black plays queen d1. Okay, fantastic. Now, white, believe it or not, can force a queen trade here and win an endgame. That's never happening. King moves again. When in doubt, why are you shuffling your king back and forth? Okay, check. Why is the king in the center of the board? Why is your king on the same diagonal as your queen? Bishop g7 just wins the queen now, like no questions asked. Instead of that, we check. Okay, me c check, me do check. Now, white wins by running the king to c5 and then running the king to b6. Believe it or not, this is now winning. I mean, you can even win here by taking and then doing this because the queen is guarded. Okay, the queen is protected. White goes to d5 instead. Now this move wins for black because it's check and the bishop is activated. After king to e4, you have check, the bishop comes out. Okay, but queen d2 check is played. Here, it's now queen e2, king d4, and for like a 900th time, the bishop can go to g7. It doesn't. Now white wins by trading the queens. White doesn't. But I don't hate that move. Now for the 901st time, bishop g7 wins the queen. No, we give a check. King to d... What? e6! e6 wins. There's no more king moves. You have to lose your queen. There's no more king moves. You have to lose your queen here. Queen e6, only move. You force a queen... Oh my god. King c5, and okay, now you find e6. Now you find it. Now you had e6 a move ago. Oh, now the king escapes. Oh my god. Now the king escapes. And this is hanging now. Oh god, king, now white is winning. Bishop takes a3, and now it's mate. Rook d7, king to e8, queen e6. And that's it. Put it away with queen f7 or rook f7, but it wouldn't be a 500 elo game unless they found a better move than checkmate in one. You know what they say, folks. Checkmate in one, you gotta find checkmate in two.